video. So video number 3, that's cool. I am sure that eventually I'll stop counting how many videos I've done, but I've been wanting to record a video for a while, pretty much every day since the last video, but the holidays were here, things were crazy. We had people coming and staying in town with us. I got sick. I did a lot of baking, like the most amount of baking I've ever done in a season of my life and in a season of the year, which was very fun. I mean, all of it was great. Not the being sick part, that wasn't fun, but I got better. I'm better now, so I'm grateful for that. But I've all throughout the busyness of the last part of this year, I've had little ideas just like randomly pop into my mind of, I could, talk about this for the video, or I could talk about this, or here's an idea. But the time just never presented itself for me to be able to sit down and actually make a video. So today's the day, I guess. I have a new little space. I'm sitting at my work desk in our front room that is heavily decorated. I actually love this. I'm glad that this is like a cool background that I can have in a video. But the reason being is that the room that I did the first couple videos is currently inhabited with 2 foster cats. So there are 8 cats total in the house, 2 fosters, and then our 6. It's a lot of cats, but I'm very happy to be able to foster. It's something that I've always been really passionate about, especially because these 2 are cats that are from around our house, that one of them I've been taking care of for over a year. And within all of the holiday craziness, that particular cat got really sick. We had to take him to the emergency vet. He had to be hospitalized. It was crazy. He's doing really well now. He had an infection called Bartonella, which when you hear about cat scratch fever, how a cat can scratch you like a stray cat and you can get an infection, that's the same bacteria, and it comes from fleas. So it's crazy because him and the 6-month-old kitten that followed him into the garage, which is where they were initially, it's where we had them initially when it was warmer. Neither of them showed signs of fleas. I mean, obviously they're outdoor cats, so it's inevitable for them to have fleas, but yeah, it was just wild. Just because a cat has Bartonella doesn't mean that if they scratch you, you're gonna get cat scratch fever. It works differently than that. Apparently cats can be carriers of the bacteria but be asymptomatic and it just not really do anything. It can just lay dormant in their system. It's whenever they have an actual like flea infestation. I'm sorry. The bacterial infection comes from a flea bite. So Spaz is his name. Spaz got bit by a flea that, had this Bartonella, which is crazy when you think of like how tiny a flea is. A flea is so tiny. How can something that tiny carry like something so infectious that it could kill something 50 times as big, 100 times as big as it? That's just wild. Same as mosquitoes. Man, I'll be the first to say I try to be respectful of all living creatures. Wasps, all the bugs, wasps, spiders, even the weird house centipedes and I try to be really respectful. When they come into the house, I catch them in a jar and I put them outside as lovingly as I can. But mosquitoes and cockroaches, they're a no-go for me. But I bring up mosquitoes because mosquitoes can give heartworms. And it's just crazy to think of something that's so small and can seem so insignificant can carry viruses like that. Anyway, I could go on and on about that kind of stuff. But Spaz has Bartonella, but the only way that he could have given me or anyone, a cat in general that has it, the only way they can give that to a human is if they have the actual flea dirt under their nail and then they scratch you and then that can cause the infection. I've learned a lot from the whole ordeal, but yeah, he's doing better, and it's a huge relief for me, huge relief for the little 6-month-old kitten that I lovingly named Junior, because he's like a copy paste of the dad cat that is an outside cat. That there are some cats that you know, when you're able to rescue animals from outside and foster or find a rescue, that's awesome. Do that, you know, if you're able to, or post on Facebook about it and see if there's someone who works with a rescue or who can potentially, you know, come at least catch the animal or etc. But there are also some times where, especially for cats, like there are just some outside cats who are kind of just meant to stay outdoor cats. We have 2 of those, both males, and as much as I would love to catch them and everything, they're just like too seasoned. They never fall for the traps, and they're very, very wary of humans, so it's just one of those things where they just gotta let them live. But yeah, so that happened as well during all of the other craziness, me being sick, me baking a bunch for the holidays, trying to get better so that I could do Christmas with my family. But yeah, so I have finally had the time to sit down, and you know, there are so many ideas, oh my gosh, so many ideas sometimes that go through my head. It can be overwhelming. But one thing that struck me today while I was cleaning up a mess that Spaz made in the room that they're in was just how different I feel, especially when it comes to anger. I feel like if my husband were to watch this, he'd be like, well, you were acting quite bratty last night when you couldn't get the shower organizer to work. So I'm gonna say all of this, you know, to also say, like, I still get frustrated, I still get angry. However, there is a really big difference with me this year, I feel, with anger than knowing how I've been in the past and how I've dealt with anger in the past. And that's what it feels like. It just feels like this huge sigh of relief. You know, so when Spaz made a mess, and it was a mess, he knocked over a plant, there was dirt everywhere, that it also knocked over a water bowl, water was everywhere, all over my desk, because they're in the back guest room, which also is my kind of like creative room. I wasn't mad. I wasn't even frustrated. I just like looked at him and I was just like, "You little mischievous boy." And I just cleaned it all up. And as I was walking away, I was like, wow, isn't that so crazy? How something like that probably would have ruined my day a few years ago was just not even, it was just such an insignificant moment, as far, like, it wasn't inconvenient. I didn't think to myself, oh, this is so inconvenient, oh, what a wrench this has thrown in my day. There are plenty of days where stuff happens and I feel like that. But the difference now that I'm seeing within myself and I'm feeling the effects of is that I've just let go of a lot of that. And I feel that this year is like the end of that cycle for me of letting go of anger, letting go of a lot of anger. I don't know that I'll fully ever let go of anger. I don't know that any of us are able to, because we're all emotional beings and we have emotional reactions, you know, like immediate, initial emotional reactions. But I just, and it's so symbolic of being at the end of this year and looking to, you know, 2026. It just feels so full circle and like the end of a cycle of letting go of anger. And it feels really good. I am not gonna lie. It feels really good. It seems that curiosity and compassion and acceptance has replaced anger. And a therapist of mine from maybe 3 years back, told me that anger is actually a reaction of fear. That fear is the core wound, not anger. Anger is the reaction of fear. It's like the defense mechanism. And so, you know, there's also been a letting go of fear as well. That's where the acceptance comes in, like accepting the things that I can and cannot control, and accepting the fact that life in general is 90% uncontrollable. Maybe even less than that. You know, I can't control what my cats do. I can't control how my husband might feel, how my family might feel, how someone's reaction might be to me saying how I feel. I can't control any of that. And as hard as that is for anyone to accept, I've really struggled with it over the years because I hate feeling misunderstood. I really don't like conflict. I avoid conflict quite often, except when I was drinking. I was very quick to conflict then. And I think I can think back to like 4 years ago when something really, really intense and unexpected happened in my life. And the last time I drank was right after it had happened. And I got the drunkest I had ever been in my life, and made a fool of myself in front of only my husband, which was, well, there were a few people via phone calls that I probably made a fool of myself in front of, but that's okay. It was mainly my husband. And I remember the next morning he came over to my side of the bed. He grabbed my hand, and I was not okay. I was very ill, very hungover. And he just grabbed my hand and looked at me with so much love, but also a bit of disappointment, and said, last night will never happen again. It will never happen again. And I spent the rest of the day crying to myself. I took a shower and I sobbed and I wailed for like 20 minutes. I laid in the fetal position on a couch for several hours crying to myself, not only because of what had happened the night before, of how drunk I had gotten and how I had acted, but because of this big thing that had blown up a very, very large portion of my life. And it took me a few days, but that was the last time I was like that. I'm done. I'm not drinking. And I think that I didn't consciously think it at the moment, but I think subconsciously my body or maybe just like my soul, my spirit knew like things are going to be really heavy and this is really going to catapult us into change, and you've got to be sober for that. You've got to be sober. And sobriety is one of the main reasons I think why I've been able to let go of so much, because I've been able to see, I've been able to think clearly and see clearly and feel clearly, which is the big one. Feeling clearly. You know, I mentioned the initial emotional reactions that we can have. I think too often we look at that as truth. You know, when you see someone acting up and you go, oh my God, that person's so annoying, or what a bitch, or fuck that person, you know, even on social media, the videos that we unfortunately bog our brain down with. We have these initial emotional thoughts and reactions. And yeah, I think that we look at that as truth into how we feel. And I would pose to argue that those initial thoughts and emotional reactions are actually not true. I think that they are, I don't think that they're false, but I think that they are a surface level of something deeper. And when I think back to all the times when I would be angry, I think about how I was feeling at the time. I'd be feeling envious. I'd be feeling lonely. I'd be feeling scared. I'd be feeling disappointed in the outcome of a situation or in myself for not following through on something I said I would, or something like that. And just being able to see that more clearly and dive into it has just, it's been like that. It's just like a big sigh of relief. It's like a big weight has been taken off of me. And I'm just so grateful for it. Because I've known and I know very angry people. And I don't want to sit here and sound like I pity them or anything, but I feel sad for them, because I know that I might not know what they're going through, but I do know what it's like to look at everything and expect the worst. And I still operate in this state of vigilance and this anticipation of disappointment or hurt or bad news. I unfortunately do. It's like a core wound for me of anticipatory grief not just with death, because grief does not just come with death. Grief comes with, it covers in a very, very broad range of scenarios and life in general. But I know what it's like to be expecting the worst from life and from myself, even from other people. I know what it's like to feel like life is totally against you. But the amazing thing is that once you start accepting and once you start truly figuring out how to let go, because it's different for everyone, I think. Everyone's process is different, but for me, the process of letting go of anger and fear was getting sober so that I could feel, see, and think clearly. And then instead of running from that, all of the stuff that I was then seeing, feeling, and thinking, instead of running away from it or burying it, brushing it under the rug, I approached it with curiosity. I approached those parts of myself, and I still am to this day. I'm approaching those parts going, what is this? What's going on? Instead of judging or coming at it from, just a judgmental place. Rather than doing that, I'm coming at it from a place of wanting to understand and wanting to show compassion. And I truly think that it has to start with you. Otherwise, when you try to be like that to others, you can't, there's like a wall that you hit. You can't really get past a certain point. This is just my experience, at least. But yeah, so I was thinking about that, and I just started really reflecting on this last year and how crazy it's been on so many levels. The past, since 2019, life has just felt like it is moving at unnecessarily fast speeds. COVID paused some things, but it also upset a whole other area of life that many people, including myself, were not expecting, didn't expect at all. And then the rebuild after COVID. And then for me, this crazy, very unpredicted thing that happened to me and my loved ones. And then just from there on out, something big, good and bad, has happened every year. I got married. My sister had a baby. I love my nephew. Oh my God, I could do a whole video about him. I'm obsessed with him. One of our cats almost died, and we found out that she has congestive heart failure. Learning about that, going to the Philippines, losing a job, gaining a job. I mean, none of that was all out of order of how it happened. But I just really feel, it's just this really crazy feeling of the end of a cycle that I've been in. And it feels really good to like have this thing that's come to completion, but I would absolutely be lying if I said that there isn't a part of me that's a little like, what's gonna happen next? And it's that anticipatory grief thing. It's that like, I need to be on my toes because something is gonna happen and I have to be prepared. But you can't really be prepared, can you? You can't really be prepared for life because you learn as you go. You really do. You learn as you go. And ain't that a bitch? Ain't that a bitch? No, I mean, it is for someone like me who likes to be prepared, but I think that's also what makes life so magical, is the fact that you can't predict it and you can't fully prepare yourself. That's why it's a challenge. Like we're all constantly challenged. If you think of someone in your life or that you know online who seems like they've got it all figured out, seems like they live this fairy tale life, seems like they're always prepared for life. Nope. Absolutely not. None of us are. Absolutely none of us. And I think that's okay. I don't think we're meant to figure it out. And I also think that is the main common denominator that we all have that makes it to where we are a collective. And rather than feeling like we're so separate from one another, I think that this is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that next year starts to bring more of that collective consciousness and connection back. That's my hope for 2026. I know that it might not happen like on a grand scale with the world, but at least in my life, in my reality, that's what I would like to see in my community around me, in my friendship groups, in my interactions with strangers. I would just love to be more open to this is going to sound so cheesy, but love and curiosity and compassion. And I feel like I've said this before. I'm having a very weird deja vu moment. Have I said this in one of my previous videos? I don't know. But, you know, I have realized this about myself, that literally ever since I was a tiny child, like as far back as I can remember, I always had the desire for goodness. I always wanted everyone to get along. I always wanted to be friends with everyone. I wanted to understand. I wanted to talk things out. I wanted to talk to people and about whatever and share stories. I know I've said that before. But I've always had the desire for goodness, you know, for groundedness, for connection, like oneness. Not in the way that we are individuals, but where when you're in an amphitheater of however many people are connected more than they're not. I feel like that I feel like I've told myself that's a really like idealistic, romanticized thought or desire, but I don't know. I don't think it is. I don't think it's impossible. Not within my reality, at least. Because we all have our different realities, you know? Because we all live in different areas of the world. We all live in different communities. We have jobs that shape who our communities are. We have different friend groups. So, you know, your reality is different than mine. So I hope it for your reality. I hope some semblance or some kind of version of that. And then I hope it for mine as well. I definitely feel like I was saying the end of the cycle, but I also feel the beginning of something new for myself. And I don't know what it is. But I guess we'll just have to see. I'm sure it's going to be good. I'm sure it's going to be challenging, which is just life, but I'm sure it's also going to be good. So, yeah, I never know how to end these. So, Happy New Year to everyone.